grammar. Today we're going to have different types of questions, and we're going to start with this exercise. So the question here tells us to choose the option that has the closest meaning to the sentence that we have here in bold. Now for questions 41 and 42, we have no problem. Okay, you got the right answer for both questions. So 41, the answer is D. And then 42, the answer is A. But we have an issue with sentence number 43. Okay, here is the thing. Now, most of the time, you will find that the sentence that you have here has two parts. Okay, like here, contrary to what Bill had expected, the first part of the sentence is done, it's over. And now we have the second one. The professor canceled the class. So the easiest part is the second. We know that what did the professor do? He canceled the class. So that's the first idea. And then you need to connect it to the first one. And that's why yesterday, if you remember, we talked about transitional words. And here we have contrary to. What does it mean, contrary to? It means the opposite to. Okay? So we know that the professor canceled the class, but this is the opposite of what Bill had expected. What do we understand? We understand that Bill didn't expect or hadn't expected that the professor would cancel the class. But actually, the professor canceled the class, and this is the opposite. This is contrary to what Bill had expected. So these are the two parts of the sentence, and the relationship between them is contrast, contrary to. يعني على عكس ما توقعه Bill. The professor canceled the class. So let's look at the options that we have here now. Okay. Now, the issue is, guys, both of you chose B. And B says, Bill had expected the professor to cancel the class. But we said contrary to what he expected. So B is completely the opposite, right? Because now we are saying Bill had expected. No, he didn't expect. He expected the opposite. So B is wrong. Bill expected the professor to contradict himself. Contradict as a verb, it means يناقض. Bill توقع من الدكتور أن يناقض نفسه. But of course, that's not what we have here. C. Bill asked the professor to cancel the class. No, he didn't ask him. ما طلب منه إنه هو يلغي الكلاس. So the answer is D. Bill hadn't expected the professor to cancel the class, right? That's what we got from contrary to. But he did. And that's the action here. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So whenever you have a sentence like this and it has two parts, focus on each part alone and try to find the word or the phrase that connects the two parts. Because yesterday we said it's very important to understand the relationship between the two ideas. And here, because we have contrary, we know it's the opposite of what Bill expected, and that's why the answer is D. Now let's move to the next question, which is 44. Here, we asked Peter to help us to decorate the house for the wedding party. So first of all, who is having the wedding party? It's we. Okay, we have the wedding party. And we talked to Peter to ask him to do what? To help us decorate the house. That's it. This time it has only one main part. We asked Peter to do what? To help us. Help us in what? Decorate the house. For what? For the wedding party. So here you can always, guys, when you analyze the sentence, or even when you read paragraphs and you need to ask and analyze, you need to ask yourself a lot of questions. Okay, it seems basic and you don't have to do that, but if you do it, you get, focused, you know exactly what you're talking about. So let's see here for 44. Peter has decorated the house for his wedding party. Now that's why we asked ourselves the first question, who is having the wedding party? We said it's we. So we cannot say that it's his wedding party because his refers to Peter. And now, of course, the meaning is wrong, right? Because if it's Peter's wedding, we wouldn't use the verb help. Because is he helping himself? No, he is helping us. We have the wedding party and we asked him to help us. So A is wrong. B, we had Peter decorate the house for the wedding party. Now that works because here when you say we had Peter decorate, it means we asked Peter to decorate the house for the wedding party. So B works. C, we were wanted to decorate the house for Peter for the party. It's the opposite now. If you choose C, it's the opposite. It means that Peter asked us to help him decorate the house because we were wanted. This is passive. And yesterday we talked about passive. We were wanted. We were asked to decorate the house. Who asked us? Peter. But again, that's the opposite of the original sentence. I cannot choose it. D, Peter has had us decorate the house for the wedding party. It's similar to, it's the same as B. If you think about B and D, they are the same in structure. But here we had Peter decorate. D is the opposite. Peter has had us decorate. And again, it's us who asked Peter to help, and that's why the answer is B. Okay, guys?
Okay.
So here we can learn a structure. Yesterday we said if you don't do something by yourself, you can use have or get, and then the object, and then you use done. And we said here it means either the verb has ed or it's the third verb or the third form. Like yesterday we said, I had my hair cut. Now, a similar meaning can be used like this. You can use have, okay? And then you write the name of the person. And then you have a verb. The verb is in the basic form, which means no changes at all. Base form. And that's what we have in sentence B. Look, subject. And then we have had, of course, it's in the past. And then the name of the person, who is Peter, and then the verb, which is decorate. So this is in the meaning, the same thing as what we learned yesterday, to have something done. But this time you are mentioning not the thing first, you are mentioning the person. So you use subject and then have. And of course, again, have, it can be in the present, it can be in the past, it can be singular, has, it can be plural, have, it can be past, had. It's just have, and you put it in the correct way. After have, you add the person, like here, we had Peter. Okay, what do we have after the person? The verb. Do we add anything to the verb? Ed, ing, s, nothing. The verb as it is in the base form. So we had Peter decorate. And then you continue. Decorate the house for the wedding party. So please take this structure as a note. Okay, have, person, do. For 45 and 46, we have no problems. Okay, you both got the right answer. So for 45, of course, the answer is D. And then for 46, the answer is A. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So this, we are done with this question. So as you can see, this is another type of question. They give you an original sentence, and then they give you 4 different options, and they need you to choose the one that has the same meaning. But of course, they will change the words, they will change maybe the grammar, they will change the structure. You need to focus on the meaning itself. For the next question, it's different now. You are given a sentence in bold. Of course, guys, if I ask you, what does it mean in bold? What does it mean? If I say the word in bold, the sentence in bold, the phrase in bold, what does that mean? Any idea? بالخط العريض. Okay? Because as you can see, in 47, we have one sentence بالخط العريض أو الخط الغامض. أما البقية جمل عادية بخط عادي. So in bold means بالخط العريض. طيب. And of course we need to continue or to choose something to complete that sentence. So they give us the first half and we give them the second half. So let's, again, what do? You analyze the sentence. Always try to analyze. Because look at the sentences that you have. Whenever, that's a relative pronoun. And yesterday we talked about relative pronouns. Even though, since, even though, and since, these are both conjunctions, but they have different meanings. Why? Because even though, it means contrast. Since, it means cause effect. Because of something happened, something else happened. So they have different relationships. That there was so little in the house to eat, this is for exaggeration. شو يعني exaggeration؟ للمبالغة. Okay, we can write it here. Exaggeration معناها المبالغة. Let's see. Of course, that all depends on what we have in the first part. So the sentence says, James insisted on taking us all out for dinner. أول شيء طبعا بيهمني insisted. شو يعني insist؟ أصر. On taking us all where out for dinner. تمام? So where are we having dinner? We are having dinner out, which means that C is wrong. Why? Because they are telling us that there was so little to eat in the house, but we are eating out, not in the house. So C is immediately wrong. Okay? Did you get why it's wrong?
Yes.
Because the original sentence is, you know, taking us out. So what is the relationship between having dinner out and then I tell you there was little food in the house? These two ideas cannot work in one sentence together, right? So what if we say, since هون since يا جماعة نفس معنى because. تمام? Because he is really short of money. What does it mean he's short of money?
ما معه فلوس.
He doesn't have enough money, right? So if we put these two parts together, James insisted on taking us to dinner because he doesn't have enough money. Does that make sense? It doesn't work. So D is also wrong. Now it's either A or B. If you look at A, whenever he comes to Istanbul for a weekend. Now, the idea is correct in A, but there's one problem. Here they didn't say James insists. In present, they added ED, insisted. تمام? ولذلك, if we said, for example, James insists on taking us all out for dinner whenever he comes to Istanbul for a weekend, that would be 100% correct. If the verb insist is in the present, we add S, insists. But now, لأنه whenever, يعني في كل مرة يأتي فيها إلى اسطنبول. طيب ليش هنحط في الماضي؟ أصر، لازم نقول يصر, insist. And that's why it's wrong. Okay, A is wrong because of this. Because comes into the present, whenever is talking about the general idea in the present, but insisted in the past. And these two don't work together. But now if you look at B, look. First of all, we know that he insisted on taking us all out for dinner. Now, what does B say? He really couldn't afford to pay. When you can't afford, this is a very beautiful idiom. When you can't afford, it means that you either can't or don't have the money, or it means you can't bear the consequences. ما فيك تتحمل نتائج هذا الشيء. تمام؟ يعني مثلا تقول if you have, you know, a very good friend and you had an argument or a fight and he wanted to leave, you know, you tell him, I cannot afford to lose you. اوكي يعني بكل بساطة ما فيني. So here he couldn't afford the pay. هلا لما نفكر بالمقطعين أول شيء نحن بنعرف he didn't have enough money وهون حاطين بالماضي couldn't صح؟ طيب he couldn't pay but he insisted. فشو relationship between the two sentences or the two ideas? Contrast. You insist on taking us to dinner but you don't have enough money. So how do I show the relationship of contrast even though? على الرغم. Okay? فصارت James insisted on taking us all for dinner even though he really couldn't afford to pay. Okay, guys, so now we go to question number 48. So again, this time you have two parts. They give us the first part and we give them the second. And how are these two parts connected together? Because of. Okay? What is the difference between because and because of? After because, you must have subject and verb. Okay? But after because of, you can just have a noun. Remember yesterday when we talked about despite, even though, although, the same thing here. Because it must be followed by a subject and a verb. But when you have because of, you don't have subject and verb, you have a noun. Okay? فبecause لوحدها بتجي بمعنى لأن أو لأن. أما because of, it means بسبب. Because of the terrible state of the roads following the heavy rain. So now, first of all, you need to think about the idea. What are we talking about? The roads. Again, just ask yourself questions. Okay, what about the roads? They are in a terrible situation. Why? Because there was a heavy rain. That's it. And then I keep in mind that this sentence starts with because. So this is the cause. What is the cause? It's the heavy rain. And the situation is bad for the roads. Okay, what happened because of that? That's what we're going to choose. Okay, for 48. So it is unreasonable to be stuck in traffic and arrive at the village late? No. Unreasonable means illogical. غير معقول, غير منطقي. Okay, but we already said that the situation is bad and that the roads are in a terrible situation. So of course it's logical that you're going to be stuck in traffic and that you're going to arrive late. So I cannot choose that. Why? Just because of the word unreasonable. That's what makes A wrong. طيب, B. It is likely to arrive at the railway station on time to catch the train. أول شيء يا جماعة, شو يعني likely to? Likely to is always followed by a verb. Like here, likely to arrive. من المتوقع. Likely to. من المحتمل. طيب. فعم بيقولوا لنا بسبب الحالة السيئة للشوارع بعد المطر الغزير من المتوقع أن نصل إلى محطة القطار في الوقت المناسب. Again, does that make sense?
No.
No.
Because the situation is bad and we expect what? We expect that we are going to be late, that the situation is bad. طيب. And that's why if you look also at D, it may not be difficult to reach the destination you want to go. No, it will be difficult. So D is wrong and the answer is C. Now, if you think about it, okay, it was almost impossible. ما هو impossible بس في كلمة almost. شو يعني almost؟ تقريبا. Good. So it wasn't impossible, of course, but it was very difficult. It was almost impossible to reach the village without a tractor. And that's what makes sense if you put it with the first part of the sentence. So the answer for 48 is C. 49, we have no problem. Both of you guys chose C, and that's the correct answer. And then now we can move to question 50. Here they're telling us that it is mainly oral. What does it mean, oral? Oral means spoken, not written. Okay, oral, spoken, not written. It is mainly oral with a high value placed on telling tales and dreams. Tales يعني stories و dreams. فتعالوا نشوف أي جزء we have to start with. Although some countries developed an advanced technology, are we talking about technology here? Can I connect technology to stories and dreams? And the technology is oral, spoken? No. So here, advanced technology is my hint. This is what helps me know that A is wrong. As we said, guys, always choose your keywords in the question and even in the options A, B, C, and D. So, even though, طبعا احنا ما بنعرف شو even though. Can you tell me again quickly what does it mean?
مع أن.
على الرغم من. Okay? على الرغم من. So even though the first Eastern country had developed burial sites, burial sites, if you know it, you will know that this answer is wrong. Because burial sites, what does it mean? Any idea?
أماكن مدفونة.
Sorry?
أماكن مدفونة.
مواقع الدفن. لو مدفونة كنا قلنا buried بالإي. buried يعني مدفون. أما burial هو الدفن. طيب تعرفوا شو اسم مكان الدفن؟
grave.
grave هو القبر. تمام؟ أما المقبرة فهي graveyard. لأنه yard ساحة المقابر صارت مقبرة. تمام؟ graveyard. طبعا graveyard في إلى اسم تاني هو cemetery. كمان cemetery مقبرة. فرجاء اكتبوا هدول الكلمات الجديدة مشان جوزي عدى علينا. تمام؟ إذا grave قبر. graveyard مقبرة. وفي اسم تاني للgraveyard المقبرة اللي هو cemetery. طيب. Of course, again, we're talking about oral, spoken. عم نحكي عن stories and dreams, so we cannot really choose B. طيب C, if China's cultural growth rate was not as high as it was expected, كمان it doesn't work. So the answer is D. Even though the culture of Eastern countries has varied extraordinary, يعني لما نحن بنجي نحكي عن البلدان الشرقية Eastern countries على الرغم من أن حضارة أو ثقافة البلدان الشرقية has varied. شو يعني varied؟ change, different, extraordinary بشكل غير طبيعي. يعني لما نجي نطلع على البلدان الشرقية حضاراتهم مختلفة كلها بشكل غير طبيعي. ولكن ما على الرغم من ذلك even though بشكل عام في شغلات مشتركة إنه هي oral شفوية وكان بتركز أكثر شيء على القصص والأحلام. So the answer is D. طيب 41 For that reason لهذا السبب government must take precautions. شو يعني precautions against this problem
إجراءات.
for the future? Again, sorry.
إجراءات.
إجراءات وقاية. يعني قبل ما يصير الشيء. مشان هيك في الكلمة بتبلش ب pre ونحن بنعرف إنه pre قبل. ف precautions هي precautions are the things that you do before something bad happens. فنحن عم نقول لهذا السبب إنه الحكومة لازم تأخذ إجراءات وقاية لهي المشكلة. طيب حسام ساعدنا هون. Can you please go step by step and tell us then what the answer is?
I chose A.
Why?
Because there's a problem. Unemployment is a great threat to university students, and we need to solve it before it becomes bigger.
Good. طيب, but if we think about it, pollution is also a problem. Why didn't we choose pollution?
Because it's an old problem. It's not a new problem.
What does that mean? Now look, you got the right answer. Okay? So you don't have to worry about the answer itself. It's just about connecting the things. For example, guys, here, look. أول شيء, if you think about the sentences, pollution is a problem. Domestic violation, العنف الأسري, violation. وبعدين حتى كمان عندنا هون high crime rate, المعدل المرتفع للجريمة. فكل هدول problems. But how can I choose the one? هون في عنا يا جماعة references. يعني مثلا عم بقول لك for the future of them. مين them؟ بهاي الجملة مو مذكور شيء جمع. صح؟ country with them جمع. تمام هون. domestic violation مفرد. pollution مفرد. الوحيد اللي فيه اسم جمع ممكن ندل عليه هو students. لأنه the future of whom? Future of students. So that's how you make the connection. And now you say, unemployment is a great threat. Threat يعني danger. تهديد, خطر to university students. And for that reason, government must take precautions against this problem. هلا بنسأل حالنا شو هي هاي البروبلم؟ هي unemployment. طيب عم بيقول لك إنه بعدين هلا شوف ركزوا معي يا جماعة. لو أعطونا الجملة لحد كلمة problem مستحيل نعرف نختار جواب صح لأنه كلهم بينطقوا. مشان هيك إن نكملوا الجملة بقول لك for the future of them. لو ما كان عندي عبارة for the future of them كان كل الخيارات بتشتغل. لأن بس عم تقول لك ولهذا السبب يجب على الحكومة اتخاذ إجراءات. طب ما هذول كلهم مشاكل وبدها إجراءات. مشان هيك إن أعطونا reference، أعطونا شيء يدل على الجواب اللي هو for the future of them. فأنت عم تحكي عن مستقبل. المستقبل مين؟ طلاب الجامعة. So here is the connection. Them is refers to the university students. Unemployment now I know that this is the problem. So the answer is A. تمام يا جماعة. So that's how you make connections. Sometimes you'll see that the answers are all talking about the same topic, but how can I choose the right answer? You need to look for reference words, pronouns, him, her, our, his, them, and so on. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yes.
Any questions?
No.
Okay. Now, if we move to question number 52, it says scientists began to investigate, okay, which means to search, to look for the possibilities of classifying whom, again, طلعوا هون them. فلازم أنا يكون في عندي هون شيء اسم جمع. والساينتست هن عم يحكوا عن possibility of classifying. شو يعني classifying؟ classify. Sorry, can you tell it again?
إرضاء.
إرضاء؟
Yep.
لا. categorize و classify اثنيناتهم بيجوا بمعنى يصنف، تصنيف. فنحن عم نحكي عن علماء بلشوا يبحثوا في إمكانيات تصنيفهم في طرق مفيدة. So here classifying them، هدول الكلمتين هن أهم شيء عندك في الجملة اللي بيخلوك تعرف الجواب الصح. Classifying them. So here again you ask yourself questions. What are we classifying and who are them? صح؟ طيب تعالوا نشوف هلا. A. Majority of scientists. طبعا majority يعني معظم أو غالبية. Claim the opposite theory. Okay, for what? I have nothing to refer to them. So A is wrong. B. As the number of non-elements increased, فأنا عندي هون elements اللي هي العناصر. So it works. Let's check the other ones. Unless technology reaches a satisfactory level, again, I have nothing to refer to with them. In order to improve information technology, it's singular, not plural. So the only sentence that has something plural in it, and I can use them to refer to it, is B, because it has the word elements. فالآن عم بيقولنا عدد العناصر عم يزداد. طبعا عم يحكوا عن عناصر الطبيعية. تعرفوا أنتوا إذا درستوا بالكيمستري في البريودك تيبل، الجدول الدوري اللي فيه magnesium والهيدروجين، nitrogen. So these are the elements we're talking about. So because the number of elements is increasing, now the scientists started to see if it's possible to classify them in useful ways. Now let's move to the other question. This time يا جماعة it's more about the context. هالمرة كل مرة بيعطونا سؤال بيتحولوا فيه من جملة إلى مقطع، الفرق الأساسي اللي بيكون بيناتهم هو الكونتكست، سياق النص. We have to understand the whole idea, because this context will again help you understand what's missing and then you choose the best answer. فأول شيء ركزوا معي مشان هذا الموضوع راح يساعدنا بعدة أمور، مو بس بحل هذا السؤال اللي هو تركيبة المقطع. راح نحكي على الكتابة خطوة خطوة. تمام؟ إذا بنحكي عن a writing system in English. أصغر شيء يا جماعة. What is the smallest unit of writing that we can write? What is the smallest thing we can write? Letters. Right? That's the smallest thing. A, B, C, etc. When you put a group of letters together, what do you have?
Words.
Words. When you have a group of words together,
sentences.
Good. So there are other things that we can discuss later. Phrases, clauses, and sentences. We're going to talk about these things if we need them later. But let's focus now on sentences. Yes, so I have a letter. I put a group of letters together, that's a word. I put a group of words together, that's a sentence. What if I have a group of sentences?
Paragraphs.
What do I have? A paragraph. And then when I put a group of paragraphs together,
essays.
We have an essay. Or you can say passage, or you can say text, whatever you want. طيب. إذا هذا هو هيك السيستم من أصغر شيء لأكبر شيء. طيب لما نحن بنحكي عن تركيبة الباراجراف راح نحكي عن البادي باراجراف، لأنه حتى الباراجراف أنواع، في المقدمة في الخاتمة، بس نحن راح نحكي هلا عن المواضيع اللي هي صلب الموضوع، البادي، بنسميها بادي باراجراف اللي هي بتجي في صلب الموضوع، لا هي مقدمة ولا هي خاتمة، هي الموضوع الأساسي راح نناقشه في النص. المقالة يا جماعة طبعا نحن راح يسألونا في التست إنه لازم نكتب مقالة. تمام؟ فهذا الموضوع راح يفيدنا للكتابة وراح يفيدنا لحل الأسئلة اللي راح نحلها بالتست الآن. أنت لما راح نحكي عن المقدمة والخاتمة بعدين. خلينا نحكي الآن عن البادي باراجراف. كل بادي باراجراف فيه 3 عناصر. أول جملة في الباراجراف هي التوبيك سنتنس. اسمها التوبيك سنتنس لأنه هي الجملة بتحتوي على المين ايديا of the paragraph. تمام؟ فكرتك الأساسية اللي بدك تناقشها بهذا المقطع لازم تكون محطوطة في أول جملة. تمام؟ طيب. هاي أنت ما بكفي بس تكتب جملة وتقول هاي الفكرة الأساسية، لازم يكون في عندي supporting details. لازم بقى شو تعمل بقى بقية الباراجراف؟ تكتب أفكار وتعطي أمثلة وتعطي تفاصيل تدعم فكرتك الأساسية. فالsupporting details مثل ما قلنا ممكن أنت تستخدم examples, stories, research, studies, and so on. بعدين السبورتنج ديتيلز طبعا مثل ما قلنا هي عباره بتيجي بعدين فكره داعمه وعليها مثال، فكره داعمه ثانيه وعليها مثال. بعدين اخر شيء طبعا الكونكلودينج سنتنس اللي هي الجمله الخاتمه في المقطع. اذا هدول 3 عناصر الاساسيه في كل مقطع. لازم الفكره الاساسيه تبع المقطع اللي هي اسمها quick sentence تكون the first sentence in the paragraph. انت لما تقراها حتى لو ما قريت الباراجراف كله راح تعرف انه كل الباراجراف وكل الجمل الثانيه راح تحكي عن نفس الفكره، بس باضافه تفاصيل اكثر، امثله اكثر، عناوين اكثر، ممكن تضيف ارقام، احصائيات، افكار الى اخره. تمام؟ فالان لما نحن نروح على هذا السؤال عم نحله، ليش عم نحكي هذا الحكي كلياته؟ لانه راح تلاحظ انه ب 53 يا جماعه الجملة الناقصة هي topic sentence، first sentence, which means أنا لازم لحتى أعرف أختار لازم أقرأ الجمل الثانية كلها وأطالع منها الكيوردز وأسأل حالي هذا الباراجراف عن شو عم يحكي؟ شو عم بيناقش؟ شو فكرته الأساسية؟ هاي الفكرة الأساسية هي اللي أنت لازم تختارها لأنه تكون أول جملة في البادي باراجراف. فأنت عارفينك كل supporting details. But what you need to do is to choose the main idea. So let's see. That's how you answer this question. This means that they have to spend as much time as possible developing skills. So I have spent time developing skills that will be of use in their employment. دائما بتنقي من الجمل الكلمات المفتاحية اللي بتخليك تعرف تجاوب. فمن أول جملة طلعنا هدول. Spend time, how or where developing skills, why for their employment. Consequently, طبعا هي cause effect. أول شيء في عندي سبب وبعدين نتيجة. وكنتيجة لهذا الشيء, schools have little time to devote to less important subjects such as physical education and music. So now I know that we're talking about schools. And I know that we're saying that schools don't give a lot of time to music and physical education. Why? Because they are less important. طيب, why are they less important? Because we said students or schools spend much time, as much time as possible, developing skills for their employment. So if you're going to be a doctor, you need science. If you're going to be, for example, a math teacher or an accountant or an economist, you need math. If you want to be a writer, if you want to be an author, if you want to be a poet, you need languages. So that's the main idea. Now, they do not consider, however, that to be a productive member of the workforce, but they forget something. They don't keep in mind, they don't consider that if you want to be a productive member, we need to have a healthy mind and a healthy body. So now we focus on the first sentence. So now I understand that the relationship of ideas is that schools focus on math and science and English and so on, but they don't focus and they don't give time for physical education, music, and so on. Why? Because they think that students must spend their time focusing on subjects that will be important for their future, career, jobs, employment. But the last sentence says that but they need to consider, they must not forget that to be a productive member of the workforce, القوى العاملة, you have to have a healthy body and then you will have a healthy mind and a healthy body. معناتها, even before I start reading the sentences, guys, what do you think that is missing there? Let's look at the options. Many authorities, طبعا authority السلطات يعني هم, feel that art and gymnastics must be an inevitable part. Inevitable يعني unavoidable, حتمي, لا غنى عنه, لا بد منه. شو هنن؟ الارت والجيمناستكس. وانه الاثوريتيز السلطات او الحكومات feel that art and gymnastics must be an inevitable part of education system. Can I start with this as the main idea? Can I?
I think yes.
No, I can't. Yes, go ahead, Yahya.
I said me too.
Sorry?
I said me too.
You?
Me too.
You think it works?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. Now here is the thing. It doesn't work. Why? Because when you choose A, it means that the authorities, the governments, know that art and gymnastics are very important. صح? Because they are saying that they are an inevitable part of education system. يعني جزء لا يمكن لا غنى عنه في education system, في النظام التعليمي. But don't forget that here you have less important. And when they talked about less important, they mentioned examples as music and physical education. طبعا الميوزك هي مثال عن الارت، هي احد الفنون، والphysical education هي gymnastics. فانت بالاي عم تقول انه هي important، بس لما جينا قرينا هاي الجمله عم بقول انها هدول less important. So I cannot actually put A as the main idea, because then the third sentence, which is consequently schools have little time to devote to less important subject, will be opposite to the main idea, and that wouldn't work. تمام يا جماعه؟ اذا انا اخذت من الجمله الاساسيه هون انه inevitable part جزء لا يمكن التخلي عنه او لا غنى عنه او لا بد منه، فهذا بيظهر لك انه هي important. بس المشكله انه اصلا في الباسج نفسه عم بيقول لك انه هدول less important subjects such as like physical education and music, and that's why you cannot choose A. تمام؟ طيب لما نروح على البي، a considerable number يعني a good number, a huge number, a big number of people are not aware, غير مدركين لأهمية of academic achievement. And again, that's the opposite of what's in the passage. Why? لأنهم بيقولوا لنا they have to spend as much time as possible developing skills that will be used for their employment. And those refer to the academic achievement. لأنه شو academic achievement? Again, English, math, science, biology, chemistry, physics, IT, and so on. وما فينا نقول they are not aware. طب إذا هن not aware, why are we saying the students have to spend as much time as possible for these skills? So again, it doesn't work. إذا أنت دائما حط ملاحظات، يعني الA قلنا خطأ بسبب الجملة الثالثة، أما الB قلنا خطأ بسبب الجملة الثانية، بتناقضوا مع بعض. طب لو جينا على الC, some people believe that schools should prepare students to be productive members of the workforce. فهنا ذكروا هون شيء عن productive members of the workforce. Or some people believe that schools should prepare them. And this means هذا هون الكمال بقى. لما أنا بقول لك أنا بعض الناس يؤمنون أو يعتقدون بأن المدارس يجب أن تهيئ الطلاب ليكونوا أعضاء منتجين في القوى العاملة. بعدين بكمل لك بقول لك this means they have to spend time for their employment and give little time to less important subjects, and then I continue. بعدين لما نجي لهون ركزوا معي. They do not consider إنه لحتى تكون member productive member لازم يكون في عندك healthy body. طب مين هن they؟ هن some people here. So the answer is C. ومع ذلك خلونا نشيك الدي مع بعض. The D says modern schools have offered various educational opportunities for young people and families. كمان الدي هون doesn't work. ليش؟ لأنه لو اخترتها وعم تقول المدارس الحديثة، تمام؟ المدارس الحديثة وفرت فرص تعليمية متنوعة. فهذا بيعني إنه هن مهتمين بالجانب الأكاديمي ومهتمين بالفنون والرياضات وما إلى ذلك. But again, that's not the case, because we said spend time more on academic achievement and less time on less important subjects. So the answer is C. Then we have 54. هالمرة أعطونا هن الفكرة الأساسية اللي هي bats have always been a source of fear for humans. إنه مصدر للخوف. مين؟ الباتس. And they started with unfortunately. تمام؟ تعالوا نشوف. There have also been many untrue stories of bats turning into humans or vampires, like Count Dracula. This is perhaps because bats live in barns, attics, and caves. They like any place that's cold and dark, and most bats fly at night. Actually, هم بقى ركزوا معي. لو نحن نسأل حالنا ليش إن نحطه unfortunately? Why did they start saying unfortunately? Does that mean that they agree with the idea that bats are a source of fear for humans and humans should be afraid of bats, or they don't agree with this idea?
They don't agree.
They don't agree, and that's why they said unfortunately. وبعدين هي أول دليل يا جماعة. أوكي؟ إذا الدليل الأول هو طبعا فكرة الأساسية إنه هي الباتس source of fear for humans. بس حتى أفهم وجهة نظرهم من هاي الفكرة في عندي unfortunately. وبعدين لما حكوا عن الستوريز إنه الباتس بيتحولوا لهيومنز أو vampires مصاصي دماء، فقال لك هاي الستوريز شلون وصفوها بأي كلمة؟ untrue، غير صحيحة. فهي بيأكد لي فكرة إنه هن ضد هاي الفكرة إنه والله الباتس هن مصدر خوف للبشر. إذن هاي أول دليلين. بعدين قالوا actually هلا عم يقولوا في الحقيقة. فالآن رح تشوف إنه هن بيأيدوا شيء تاني، إنه الباتس are wonderful creatures. هن مخلوقات رائعة. The only mammals وهن الثدييات الوحيدة. طبعا الثدييات هي مثل ما بنعرف يا جماعة الأسود والقطط والبشر إلى آخره. So the only mammals which can truly fly. إذا ليش هن مخلوقات رائعة؟ لأنه هن الماملز الوحيدة اللي فيها تطير. لأنه كل شيء بيطير نحن بنسميه birds، طيور. أما هذا mammal ثدييات but they can fly. A bat's body is made for flight with its large chest and thin but powerful wings. Bats listen to echoes to find and hunt for their food. فالآن أنا اللي بعرفه إنه الكاتب هون عم يعارض فكرة إنه نحن البشر لازم نكون خايفين من البات وإنه هن بيتحولوا لمصاصين دماء وهي كلها أفكار صحيحة إلى آخره. وبعدين عم بيوضح الحقيقة عن الباتس إنه هن مخلوقات رائعة. They are the only mammals that can fly and so on. فتعالوا نشوف طب شو ناقصني لازم أحطه هون بالجملة. تعالوا نشوف. A مثلا بال54 إنه there have been people who thought bats were dirty and evil. Can I put it here? And then I say also we have untrue stories of bats turning into humans or vampires?
Yes, it can be.
Yes. لأنه أول شيء نحن عم نحكي إنه طيب مصدر خوف للهيومنز. Why? Because there have been people who thought that bats were dirty and evil. Or also, we have untrue stories of vampires. So it works here. لو هاي الفكرة بقى يا جماعة، فأنت بتعرف إنه النصف الأول من المقطع نيجاتيف سلبي. النصف الثاني هون بدايته من المقطع بوزيتيف. فأنت لازم تعرف إنه أنت بدك شيء نيجاتيف فيه، ما بصير تحط شيء بوزيتيف. تمام؟ يعني مثلا هون B عم بيقول لك bats are not disgusting and terrifying as many people think. هاي جملة positive. أنا عم بقول لك إنه الخفافيش ليست مقرفة أو مخيفة كما يظن الكثير من الناس. طب هي جملة positive، فأنت لازم أصلاً تحطها في الجزء الثاني من المقطع مو من الجزء الأول، لأنه قلنا الجزء الأول negative، الجزء الثاني positive, and that's why B doesn't work. بعدين the aim of this essay is to give you some information about bats. إنه الغرض من المقالة هاي إنه نعطيك معلومات. هاي ممكن تحطها في البداية مثلاً، بس مو هو. ولذلك C is wrong. Among the kinds of food that bats eat، هنا بيحكوا إنه التركيز هو الفود، الطعام اللي البats eat، إنه fruit, vegetables, insects. In here, did we talk about anything related to the food that bats eat? No.
No.
So C is wrong. So the answer is A. إذا نحن نقول إنه there have been people who thought that bats were dirty and evil. There have also been many untrue stories of bats turning into vampires. This is perhaps that because they live in the dark and the cold. And then we talk about the positive parts. اتفقنا يا جماعة؟ إذا دائما بدنا نحلل النص. التحليل هون مثلا كان عن وجهة النظر. مين بيتفق ولا بيختلف؟ بعدين الجزء الأول كان بيحكي بشكل سلبي. أما بعد النصف الثاني عم نحكي، شوفوا حتى الكلام تغير. هون نحن قلنا شوفوا fear, untrue, vampires, cold, dark. تقريبا كل الوصف هون سلبي. لما جينا على النصف الثاني شوفوا wonderful. تمام؟ بعدين قالوا powerful. صار الكلام إيجابي. فأنت بتطلع هون طب أنا وين الجملة اللي لازم أحطها بالجزء السلبي ولا بالجزء الإيجابي؟ فهي بتكون كخطوة أولى، وبعدين طبعاً بتكمل بقى لما تطلع بقية الخيارات ومين بيشتغل ومين ما بيشتغل إلى آخره. So the answer is A. هلا يا جماعة 55 we have no problem. You both got the right answer, which is D. 56 again we have no problem. We already know the answer, which is C. 47 again we have no problem because you already guys chose the right answer, which is B. Correct?
Correct.
Yes.
طيب. الآن ننتقل لنوع ثاني اللي هو محادثة. Dialogue. يعني dialogue. The dialogue here حوار. فعم بقول لك choose the most appropriate. طبعا appropriate مناسب. Expression تعبير. اختر التعبير المناسب لإكمال الحوار. ف 58 ركزوا معي. عندي أنا شخصين، عندي جيك تمام وعندي سيلفيا، والكلام ناقص هو تبع جيك. فركزوا على هذا الشيء. جيك, how did you like the movie you last night? قالت له I can't say it was the best I've ever seen. تمام؟ So بناء على هذا الشيء هون بقى بدنا شيء يوصل ما بين القبل والبعد. فهو شو قالت له؟ قالت له I can't say it's the best. يعني يمكن حبيته but it's not the best thing that she's ever seen. فبعدين ركزوا معي. هون في عندي كله أسئلة. مشان هيك الجواب كان certainly not. Don't waste your time. تمام؟ إذن they are talking about the movie. We know that she can't say it's the best. and then she told him don't waste your time. فهل هو بيكون بهذا السؤال معقول سأله did you go alone or with a friend from work? Does that work?
No.
No, it doesn't. We're talking about the movie, and we're talking about the movie that wasn't the best thing, and then she's telling him don't waste your time. So of course we're not talking about whether she went alone or with the friends. طيب, hadn't you read the reviews before you went to it to see it? This one, again, it doesn't work. لأنه عم تسأله ما قريت أنت الريفيو تبعه قبل ما تشوفه؟ فمو معقول يقول له تقول له sorry لأنه جايك اللي عم يسأله. مو معقول تقول له certainly not don't waste your time. لا. بس الجواب الصح هو C. عم بيقول لك then you wouldn't recommend it, would you? معناتها أنت ما بتنصحي فيه. recommend يوصي. لما أنت بتعمل توصية أو تنصح حدا إنه يعمل شيء. فلما قلت له it's not the best thing ever, then you wouldn't recommend it, would you? قلت له certainly not. يعني أبدا ما بنصحك تشوفه. طب شو اللي عرفني؟ لأنه بآخر شيء شو قالت له؟ don't waste your time. ما تضيع وقتك. الفيلم ما بيستاهل. So the answer is C. أما الجواب دي مثلا فكان عم يسأله شو قصدك إنه حسب؟ لأنه it depends هو مصطلح لما نقول it depends معناتها إنه حسب. بس هي she didn't even say it depends. صح؟
صح.
So the answer is C. عم يسأله قالت له it's not the best. قال له then you wouldn't recommend it. قالت له certainly not. Don't waste your time. So the answer is C. هلا بقى يا جماعة من 59 ل 63 أمورنا كلها تمام. ما عندنا أي مشكلة. فال 59A 60B 61A 62D 63B. تمام؟ لحد الآن ما في عنا أي مشكلة. هلا بنفس الطريقة مو لهذا الحوار اللي قبله لما كنا عم نحلل شو الجملة الناقصة وشلون المقطع بتألف من عدة عناصر. لازم أول شيء الفكرة الأساسية، بعدين الأفكار كلها اللي بتدعم وبتأيد الفكرة الأساسية وأمثلة بتوضحها، وبعدين الجملة الخاتمة. بنفس الطريقة عنا هذا السؤال، ولكن هالمرة ما في جملة ناقصة. نحن رح نحذف أو نشيل أو نختار الجملة اللي ما بتدعم الفكرة الأساسية. عشان هيك هون عم لك find the irrelevant. irrelevant يعني not related، ما له علاقة في الموضوع. ويا جماعة مو شرط إنه لما أقول لك إنه ما له علاقة في الموضوع إنه ما له علاقة أبداً، لا، هي بتكون متعلقة في الموضوع بس not directly، ما هو بشكل مباشر وما بتساعدني على الفكرة الأساسية. تمام؟ بس قبل ما نبلش بهذا السؤال خلونا ناخذ بريك، نرجع على 3 إلا 5. تمام؟ يعني معنا 12 دقيقة. So please at 2:55 let's come back and continue our lesson. Okay guys?
Okay.
Okay, guys, let's get started. All right, so if we look at this first question here, 64, again, we are gonna try to look at which sentence is irrelevant, not directly related to the main discussion that we have in the paragraph. So, for many years, all books were written by hand. And because it took so long to write one book, there were only a few of them. So this is the main idea. Books written by hand, and that's why we have a few of them. Why? Because it takes so long. Then sometime between 1450 and 1460, Johannes Gutenberg got the idea of what? Carving separate letters and moving them to make new words. Okay? Gutenberg died at the age of 68. This was the invention of movable type. So first of all, we're talking about a problem that we didn't have a lot of books in the past because they were written by hand, and that takes so long. And then we have this person, Johannes Gutenberg. He got the idea of what? Of movable type. And that was the invention. The only information here that doesn't really help to support the main idea is the time or at which Gutenberg died. Like, how would that help me here? Okay, so the answer is C. This is the irrelevant information. Okay, guys.
Okay.
So we have a problem and a person who came up with a solution, and the solution is the invention of movable type. But here at this specific paragraph, in this paragraph, we don't really like, I'm not going to say we don't care because that's the death of somebody, but I mean, as an idea, we don't really care here at which time he died, because that's not one of the main points that we can support the topic with. So the answer is C. 65, we have no problem. You both guys chose B, and that's the correct answer. Let's now move to question number 66. So let's see here. Since the Second World War, life expectancy in areas where people are well-nourished, it means they have, good food. Because, we have nourishment, which is about food. So in areas where people are well-nourished has improved greatly. So their life expectancy, lifespan, improved. Like people can live longer. And then we have vegetables are an important part of healthy diets. And then look, for example, a newborn infant in Scandinavia can be expected to live more than 80 years. So this idea is directly related to life expectancy. And they are giving us an example of an area. Why? Because we said in areas. And what is the area we are talking about now? Scandinavia. On the other hand, where diet and health conditions are not good, again, look where. So it's about the place, the areas. The areas where diet and health conditions are not good, newborns may have a life expectancy, again, it's related, as short as 30 years. Why? Because the diet, which means the food, and health conditions are not good. But when you say vegetables are an important part of a healthy diet, that doesn't support the topic here. So the answer is B. It's irrelevant. Now we have 3 sentences. Life expectancy, how it improved. And they mentioned in areas. And they gave us an example, Scandinavia. People can live to 80 years. But then they said, on the other hand, when the food and the health conditions are not good, the life expectancy is very short as 30 years. So the only irrelevant sentence here in this paragraph is sentence number 2. For 67, here they say, the largest organ in the human body is the skin. الجلد هو أكبر عضو في جسم الإنسان. One of the skin's functions، هلا عم يحكوا عن الفانكشنز تبع السكل. شو يعني function؟
خصائص.
Sorry؟
خصائص.
It's وظائف. Okay? Job. One of the skin's functions is to help to regulate the amount of body heat. So it regulates. Regulates يعني ينظم. ينظم حرارة الجسد that flows in and out of the body. اللي بتدخل على الجسم واللي بتطلع من الجسم. بعدين بقول لك heavy smoking ages skin very quickly. بعدين when it's cold we cover the skin with extra layers of clothing to slow down the outward flow to heat. لأنه لما نحن نفكر في هالجمل يا جماعة، إذا نحن عم نحكي عن السكن as the largest organ، عم نحكي عن functions. One of these functions, one of them is the body heat. والجملة الأخيرة عم تقول when it's cold we cover the skin with extra layers of clothing to slow down the outward flow of heat. So it's still related to the function that we are mentioning in the second sentence. The only sentence that doesn't help us here is smoking. Heavy smoking ages skin very quickly. Why? Because this is one of the, let's say, threats, dangers, diseases to the skin. But here we're not talking about the diseases, we're talking about the functions of the skin, which is about the heat. So the answer is C. So again, as you can see, we're not doing anything complicated. It's one thing. Read, highlight the key words, analyze the ideas, ask yourself questions, and then for sure, if you follow these steps, you'll always get the right answer. Now for 68, they're here telling us that Lake Baikal in Central Asia is the deepest lake in the world. So why are we talking about Lake Baikal? Because it's the deepest. It contains about 1/6 of the world's fresh water supply, as well as 1,200 species of animals and 500 species of plants. Many of these plants and animals are not to be found anywhere else on Earth. So now, of course, the first sentence is the topic sentence. What are we talking about? Lake Baikal. Why? Why is it interesting? Why are we writing about it? Because it's the deepest lake. And then they are explaining how it is the deepest lake. It has 1/6 of the whole world's freshwater supply. And not only that, it has, as we said, 1,200 species of animals and 500 species of plants. And then if you see sentence number 3, they refer to the second sentence by saying many of these plants and animals. Why did they use these? Because it's mentioned in the previous sentence. Animals and plants are not to be found anywhere else. So the sentence here actually, that the name comes from the Mongolian word that means nature, it doesn't really help me here. So the answer is D. That's the irrelevant sentence. So I'm talking about the lake, how it's the deepest, what kind of wildlife it has, plants and animals, and so on. But talking about where its name came from doesn't really help me here. And that's why we chose D as the irrelevant sentence. 69, we have no problem. The answer is C. 70 now. And of course, now, before we talk about the other questions, now you know that here we have a passage, we have to read the passage, and then based on our reading, we need to answer these questions. Again, we have another passage with other questions and so on. So we have 3 passages, and each passage is followed by certain questions. Okay? So when you start with 70, there is no problem. The answer is A. The passage emphasizes the point that children need to take part in group activities. That's the main idea. C is the right answer for 71. That, as we learned from the passage, one of the disadvantages, drawbacks of computers for children is that computers tend to make children isolated and less sociable. What does that mean, isolated?
منعزلين.
منعزلين. Good. So we have no problem with these two questions. However, we can think about question number 72. Okay, look. According to the passage, children need to laugh. What does it mean, laugh? يضحك. طيب, let's see here. Now, so they say, again, laughter's social role is definitely important. طبعا الاسم من laugh هو laughter, الضحك. Today's children may be heading for a whole lot of social ills because their play and leisure time is so isolated and they lose out on lots of chances for laughter. When children stare at computer screens rather than laughing with each other, they get involved that they forget to laugh at all. This is contrary to what's natural for them. So we understand that laughter actually is what's natural for the students, for the children. Now, natural social behavior in children is playful behavior. And in such situations, laughter indicates that make-believe aggression is just fun. So it's not actually aggression, yani udwan. But again, this aggression is not serious. It's just for fun because it's playful. Now, this is an important way in which children form positive emotional ties, gain new social skills, and generally start to move from childhood to adulthood. So, I mean, when they play, they can be a little bit aggressive. Like some games can be aggressive and physical. But again, it doesn't mean that this aggression is serious. It's just for fun because they want to trust people and have positive emotional connections and social skills and so on. Parents need to be very careful to ensure that their children play in groups and laugh more. So in this question 72, we're saying that according to the passage, children need to laugh. Otherwise, they will become ill-balanced adults and isolate them from others. Is that one of the things? Maybe. Let's keep it now. Especially when they are not involved in group activities. No, that's the opposite. I cannot say B, because they say that they need to laugh, especially when they are not in groups. But no, we said they have to play with each other. They must be in groups. And when they play and have fun, they will laugh. So B is completely the opposite. I cannot choose B. And usually manage to do so even when they are being aggressive, maybe. But if you actually think about D, that's the best answer. Why? Why do they need to laugh? Because this helps them to form relationships and grow up emotionally. So how is that? Because we need to find the answer. How is that in the passage? Look, I'm going to zoom out a little bit and focus here. We said that this is an important way in which children form positive emotional ties. Form موجودة نفسها هي هون. Form. بس بدال positive emotional ties are in relationships. But again, it's a different idea but the same meaning. وبعدين شو قالوا لنا? This is also the way they start to move from childhood, from just being children, to adulthood, to become adults. And that's what they said here, grow up emotionally. So the answer is D. Okay, guys?
Okay.
So always when you choose an answer, you need to connect it to the passage. You need to have evidence in the passage that this is the right answer. And most of the time, don't expect the answer to use the exact same words in the passage. They will change the words. They will change the structure. But the focus is the idea. And if we compare what we have in the passage to the sentence, we're going to find that D is the right answer. Because as we said, positive emotional ties, these are relationships. Move from childhood to adulthood, this is how they grow up. So the answer is D. For the next passage, we have no problem at all. You got all the answers correct. So 73, the answer is D. 74, the answer is A. 75, the answer is C. and 76, the answer is A. By the way, when I'm giving you the answers that you got right, are these the same answers that you actually chose?
Yes.
Like, I have nothing wrong with the answers that I have here in front of me, right?
Yes.
Okay. So now we can move to question number 77. An interesting point in the passage is that, well, here we have to read the whole thing, but we can summarize that as one steps out of the busy commercial streets in front of the station in a Japanese city. So we have one part of the city that is busy and commercial, industrial, and moves on into the side streets. And if you go to the side streets, one will often encounters old shops, historic temples, shrines, and this will hint to the former character of the city. Okay? That's the main idea that we have here, that we have two parts of the city. There is the main streets. They are busy, full of people, industrial, commercial, which means, you know, there are companies, there are shops, and there are factories and so on. But they say if you go to the side streets of the city, you're not going to find all of that. You're going to find old shops, historic places like temples and shrines. And this was the previous, the former, the past character of the city. So the answer here is A. The old history of a Japanese city is to be found where? In side streets, not in busy commercial ones. So if you want to find out the history of a Japanese city, you have to go to the side streets, not in the busy commercial streets. And then here we have 78. The answer that you got, guys, is correct. Meet with, B. And then for 79, also it's correct, C. Renovation means restoration. And then now look, we come to the final question in this test. What is the main purpose? What is the main discussion in the passage? And of course, here the answer is D. It is the blend, the mix between the old Japan and the new Japan. Because here we talked about two types of the city. And here they just go on talking about, look, the antique looking houses, old style houses. But then after that, you see here, after they mentioned everything about the history, they mentioned here, but. So there is contrast. Now we're gonna move from the past to the present. Although outward appearance and facilities may have been renovated, there has surely been no renovation in the sensibilities and attitudes of the people who live in these new environments. Okay? Because the main idea here is not, for example, like the social importance of the temples and shrines, or it's not the contrast between the village and the city, or the pride that Japanese people feel for their great historic heritage. Yes, they are proud of their heritage. However, that's not the main idea here. The main idea is that we have the two parts of the city, the new and the old. And that's why the answer is D. And now we're done. Okay, guys, so inshallah, today, maybe in the evening, I'll send you some of the materials I told you about before. Go and study those materials, practice on them, do the exercises, train out. Now, this week only, you're not supposed to have a test on Monday, only on Wednesday, okay? So use the time on Monday and Tuesday studying the things that I will send you, so that you can be ready for the test on Monday. On Monday, we send you the test, you do it, you send your answers back immediately, and then we're gonna discuss the test you're gonna do on Monday, or on Wednesday, inshallah, next week, again, Saturday and Sunday. Okay, guys? So this week, Monday and Tuesday, please study from the materials that I'll send you. And then you do one test on Wednesday only. After you do the test on Wednesday, we discuss it, inshallah, at the weekend on Saturday and Sunday.
So tomorrow, do we have a class?
No, just Wednesday. But for the next weeks, inshallah, you're gonna have, because after that, we're gonna give you a test with 2 parts. So you will do one part of the test on Monday and the other part on Wednesday. But next week, the test is like the one that you've just done. It's one part, one thing, not divided into session A, session B, or section A, section B. So you can just do it on Wednesday and send your answers. After that, yes, we're gonna send you one part on Monday and the other part on Wednesday. Okay, guys. So again, now you know all the right answers for all the questions on the test. Make sure that you study these notes. Make sure that you study the materials that I'll send you. If you need to study and practice more, look, you can just simply go to the internet and write whatever you want. For example, we talked yesterday about modal verbs. Just go to the internet and Google it. Exercises on modal verbs in the present, exercises on modal verbs in the past, or present perfect, past continuous, past perfect, active versus passive. All the topics that we mentioned together, and you need to practice and practice more, just Google it and you will see a lot of exercises, a lot of worksheets. So just download them and do the exercises. You need to practice more, you need to work more, so that when it comes, when the time comes to do the test, you are ready, you are prepared, you are trained. Don't just wait for the test or for our sessions at the weekend. That's not enough, as I told you before. You have to study more, you have to practice more. So whenever we mention any idea and you need to practice more on it, go just and write that on Google and you'll find a lot of exercises that you can use. Okay, guys?
Okay.
Thank you so much. See you next week, inshallah. Goodbye.
Thank you for your time, teacher.
Thanks.